This petrol-propelled phenomenon has to be one of those stories that makes us feel the most vulnerable. Cars, as Gary Numan once said, make us feel safest of all. It's a mobile extension of us and our homes. We give them names, flags, stickers, and some rambunctious souls give them eyelashes. So when we get in our cars and set off on our journeys, we would never expect to pick up a passenger that would suddenly vanish. It would upset the sanctity and safety of the warm interior of our cars. For a while, driving alone wouldn't be the same as before. You'd fear seeing another lonely figure with an outstretched thumb. And what if next time they didn't ask, they just came along for the ride? Did I just hear some sort of sigh of relief from the motorcyclists? I'm sorry, but it does happen to you guys too. In 1978, Darby Van Jarsveld was riding to his girlfriend's house from De Rust one night when he saw a girl alone by the road. He stopped and offered her a lift and she accepted. Quietly, she gave him her destination. He gave her one of the earbuds from his ear so that she too could hear his music. And then he gave her a helmet and they set off for Uniondale. After 10 miles, De Jarsveld felt his back tyre skid out and he stopped to check. To his shock, his passenger was gone. The helmet was strapped back down and the loaned earbud was actually back in his own ear. His words were, "I can tell you the moment I realised these things I could feel my hair stand on end on my head and I had cold shivers up and down my spine." In shock, Van Jarsveld headed to a cafe in Uniondale where he told his story, and they in turn told him of others who had encountered this phantom hitchhiker. These unfortunates were all young, good-looking men. Anton Lagrange, who drove to the police station afterwards, and the officer witnessed the car door open of its own accord. Another motorcyclist named Andrew Coetzee did not pull over for her, but felt invisible arms wrap themselves around him as he rode along. He sped up in order to remove this feeling, but the spectre only thumped him on the head 3 times. In fear, he sped up even more and the spirit departed. He too stopped at a cafe to compose himself, and when the story of the lady hitchhiker made the news, a pilot came forward and stated that his fiancée had died at that spot in 1968. Anton Lagrange, who had willingly given her a lift, identified her from a photograph. Back here in Blighty, 2 spectres haunt Station Road, a stretch of road outside the village of Stanbridge near Leighton Buzzard. The first had been haunting that stretch of road for over 50 years. He appears a very well-dressed gentleman in tweed suits, but he seems to have a mischievous side. When an unsuspecting Good Samaritan pulls over to give this fine-looking fellow a lift, he disappears. Then, in 1979, 26-year-old carpet fitter Roy Fulton experienced a more corporeal hitchhiker. Then, in 1979, 26-year-old carpet fitter Roy Fulton experienced a more corporeal hitchhiker. Driving back from a darts match in Leighton Buzzard along Station Road, he spotted a young man hitchhiking, so he pulled over. The young man crossed through his headlights and into his van, and Fulton got a view of what he was wearing. He was wearing dark trousers, a dark jumper, and wore a white collared shirt. When Fulton asked where the chap was going, he pointed in the direction of Fulton's travel, and they rode in silence until Fulton decided to smoke and reach for his cigarettes. Turning to offer the young man one, he was gone. Pulling over and turning on his interior lights, he looked into the back of the van, and it was empty. He then, as he described it, drove like a bat out of hell to his local pub, The Glider, and even visited the police, but they couldn't help. But don't take my word for it. Here it is in his own words.
Carpet fitter Roy Fulton thought he knew what to expect on the byways of Bedfordshire. But there's one journey he'll never do again in the dark. He was driving home on the deserted road from Stanbridge to Tottenham when the headlights of his van picked out a lonely hitchhiker.
There was a figure thumbing a lift on street light down here on the left-hand side. I'll stop just down here and let you see where it is. So we're there now. I thought myself he could either be going to Tottenham or Dunstable. So I thought myself I'd give the lad a lift. He actually walked back into the headlights of the van. He opened the van door, he got in, sat down. I asked him where he wanted to go, and all he said was, well, he never said a word, he just pointed up the road. I started the van up, drove off, never made no conversation. It was just about now I leant forward, picked up me packet of cigarettes. In fact, it was just about here. Turned round to offer the lad one, and that man or boy was not sitting there. And, well, I just frightened the life out of me. I turned round and had a look in the back, and I realised that he wasn't in there, because by this time I had switched the interior light on. And by this time I was just sort of panicking, and I just put it in first gear and I went like a bat out of hell.
And the sanctuary he headed for was his local pub, the Glider. Landlord Bill Stone remembers Fulton coming in, shaking and white as a sheet.
He said to me, give us a large Scotch quick. I said, wait, you seen a ghost or what? He said, yeah, I have. I've seen a ghost. I said, don't be silly. He said, I've seen a ghost.
He insisted that we had to go down the police station because he thought if anybody had got hurt or whatever it was, you know, he'd rather find out about it then, you know, than another day. And, I mean, when we got home, it was still on his mind, and in fact, we slept with all the lights on because he was so convinced that it would, I don't know why, that it would come home, follow him home.
There's obviously someone got in that motor, and I do not for note to this day what it was.
His experience impacted him that much that he feared the spirit would seek him out. Why are there two phantom hitchhikers on this long, lonely stretch of road? Does it have anything to do with the train station that's no longer there, or did the dapper old man spirit decide to modernise his apparition? Whichever the answer is, don't pick up any hitchhikers on Station Road in Stanbridge. It is worth noting that the stories described, they all drove to places where there'd be lots of people, activity and life. It's perhaps a natural reaction to having had a brush with the dead.